This is mercenaries in the name of leaders who are causing havoc in Sudan.
For personal interest.
For personal interest.
Hey, and welcome to Fanya Mambo Africa. Always an exciting time to host people on this. But on this one, of course, it's always exciting when we have Cyrus. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Great. The audience has been asking where you disappeared to.
I'm around. You know it. But a bit busy, up and down, trying to get things sorted out.
Okay.
Otherwise, we've not lost focus on what is going on. We're seeing what is going on. We are watching keenly. And we'll let people know our opinion in due course.
You are watching when everyone is actively
No, we are watching. We are watching.
All right.
Yeah, sometimes it's important to watch, because when you go into something without a deep understanding, sometimes you make a lot of blunders. So it is good to give it time, watch every player. What are the intentions? Or is it called intentionality? Where are they driving? What are their interests? Is it personal or national? Is it regional? Of course, then you can tell where the leadership is. Does it have any care for the citizen, or it is about me? Those are the issues we look at.
Oh, great. And now that you already mentioned it, I think we will start at the regional space, because as I think for the last, say, 3 weeks, it's been very active in the region of Africa. And specifically, all eyes are again in Kenya, because last week we hosted the RSF leadership at KICC. Again, there's an update that they signed a document in some conference center in South Sea. What does all this mean when Kenya is essentially supporting, like, I don't know, it's a militia group, we can call it that, because they've been accused of even causing genocide? Where are we as a nation on this?
First of all, this is a very complex matter, because it's all a game of money. There is no really political theory behind it. There is no any principle that somebody is pursuing. When you look at it deeply, it is just individuals' interests. It has got nothing to do with the people of Darfur region. It's got nothing to do with the other side of Sudan. It's all individuals trying to settle their scores. And then there is a tinge of course, to justify the individual interests. They'll always say, oh, the other side is Arabic, or the other side is African. They'll always look for a reason to justify what they are doing. But essentially, when you look at it in detail, it is all selfish. It's an economic game that is going on in Sudan.
And who are these players when you say it's an economic? Because for most people probably don't even understand the origin of this war.
Yeah, you see, initially when this war started, Egypt was with Abdul Rahman, the then Chief of General Staff. Then UAE was with Hameti. Sudan has a lot of gold, and you've seen these features. And if you follow, Hameti exports close to half a ton of gold daily to UAE. And therefore, he got the support from UAE. The Egyptians were looking at, let us stabilize our neighbor and let's keep the government together. Then when they came in, of course, they stood with what was supposed to be the government. But essentially, the Egyptians again pulled back because of economic interests. Whose economic interests? There are leaders in the region who benefit from Hemeti. Hemeti has bought recognition in several countries, because if you have that kind of liquidity, what can't you do? There are people who use their money to do a lot of things. For our involvement and hosting people to announce a government in the Republic of Kenya, when clearly our policy since independence, we are supposed to be aligned. We're supposed to be. It doesn't mean we should not have our opinion on what is happening in the region, but our policy is we should not interfere. When you host a rebel group, and it's not just Hemeti, it has also happened when people came here and announced some things from DRC. It looks like, as a country, we are losing focus totally in our diplomacy. We are basically turning into a selfish interest benefit that benefits the leadership. It's got nothing to do with Kenyans. So you'll find when you come and allow a function in DRC to talk in Kenya and say how they are going to take over DRC, blah, 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 obviously the economic interests, those economic interests are not for the country. They are for the individuals that we voted for who are in leadership. The same thing, when you go out of your way, a country has its problems. If somebody wants to announce his government, he should announce it in his country. What we should be doing is to invite both sides as Kenya, being non-aligned, and tell them, sort out your problem. If sorting out their problem is to agree the way South Sudan and Khartoum agreed, let it be so. But we cannot be the ones taking one faction and telling them, come to Nairobi and announce your government. What are the interests? Who has benefited from it?
That's the question that most Kenyans are asking, because from where we stand, really we cannot pinpoint. But then again, we watched an interview that was done by the impeached deputy president, and he says that our president, this is an accusation he made, we cannot certify, of course, but he says that the president is doing gold business with the leadership of RSF in Kenya. So when such a message comes from someone, because he even says when he hosted the RSF leader, he had been asked by the president to do so on his behalf. And then when he asked the leadership, because he was not in that meeting, when he was taking him to the airport, what they discussed, that's when the guy told him, we are doing business.
There's a young man called Hilary Alila. Hilary Alila was key in putting William Ruto through to Hemeti. And this did not start yesterday. This was even before, when he was a deputy. And some of the monies, other than what was picked from our taxes here, I'm sure Hemeti contributed heavily. And it's a bit sad when you ridicule a country like Kenya to look like we don't know really what we are supposed to be doing as a country because of selfish interests. Obviously, there's a business going on between Hemeti and the leadership in this country, obviously. And it has nothing to do with Kenyans, because Kenyans know their role. Hakuna matata. It's a country that is non-aligned. You can have an opinion, but you don't interfere. And it's a general principle at the UN. You do not interfere with a sovereign country. If there's a mess, it is like when we had the Gen Z's revolution here the other day. You expect another country to come and support the Gen Z's. Kenyans can sort out their problems. Why are you going to interfere in another country? I don't know really what would have been the reaction of the leadership in Kenya if during the June riots there was a country behind it. I don't know what the reactions would have been. And you need to put yourself in that shoes to understand. Yes, I'm a greedy man. And all of us know our president is greedy, but there should be limits. There should be limits. You cannot sell the soul of a country. He sold a long time ago. Nothing matters. As long as there is money, he'll pick. But don't try and sell the soul of a country. Kenya is known to be a country that has progressed well. We have reached where we have reached because we have respected our neighbors. We've never been a country that starts incursions in any country. Even during Amin's time, it is Amin who was trying to bring problems with Kenya. But we went out of our way. Mzee Kenyatta, having been in Mau Mau, but he got time to invite Idi Amin to come to Kenya, to tell Idi Amin, why are we quarreling? What problem do you have with us? What have we denied you? You have the route, you can pass your goods. And that is the dignity Kenya has maintained all through. Today, the image of the country is in tatters. Nobody looks at Kenya as a country anymore. There is assumption that since I'm the president of Kenya and Kenya carries weight in the region, I can trample on the leadership in the region. And this has gone on for quite a while. And I don't think the rest of the leadership in Africa looks at Kenya the way they used to look at Kenya. And not because of Kenyans, but because of leadership that has no vision.
When I look at this whole scenario of Sudan, again, it's worrying because I don't know now what our relationship is, considering that they recalled their ambassador now. What does that mean for our relationship, like moving forward with this country? Because they are our neighbors, yes.
The worst thing that will happen, I know Hemeti has a lot of support because of the gold. UAE is with him, flat out. The Kenyan government leadership is always in UAE. You know the apartments that they have bought all over in UAE. It's not a secret. You know the accounts they hold in UAE. It's not a secret. And I think their entry into UAE was facilitated mostly by Hemeti. Hence, I think we need to have some conscience. Nobody doesn't love money, but you'll feel proud if it is money that you sweated for. But if it is money, blood money, whatever is happening to Sudanese is unacceptable. The people who suffer have no idea as to why they're suffering. They found themselves in their country. Individuals have gone mad because of money. They are in positions of influence and power. Of course, money will always catapult you into those positions. And you had no vision. Your leadership is half-baked. You don't even understand why you're in leadership. You're in leadership thinking, I'll get into leadership to make money. I'll get into leadership to get rich. Now, if those are the kind of leaders Africa is going to put forward, no wonder we are where we are globally, because Africa suffers just from one thing: leadership, nothing else.
Still, my question is, what now happens to our diplomatic relations with Sudan?
Diplomatic relationship with Sudan. Today, there's a proposal to divide the northern Sudan, that we have the Brahman side and we have a Amiti side, meaning we'll have ended up with 3 countries from the original Sudan. And obviously, our relationship with the Burhan arm to recover will take genius. Even Egypt, who deep in their heart, other than realizing that they have a lot of interest with UAE, and therefore they have left Hameti to be, Burhan to be humiliated, deep in their heart, because they initially started off by putting a lot of support behind Burhan. I don't think even Egypt looks at us as a country that has any dignity and that respects itself. There are people who have their personal interests and they can help. Diplomatically, Kenya has lost. There are issues. Today, the way Republic of South Africa looked at Kenya is no longer the same. And the reason, if you looked at the way a person who is a personal friend of Raila decides he's not going to vote for Raila, South Africa, there are reasons. There was an invitation here of Managagu, this guy of Zimbabwe. Mnangagwa. And the message given to Mnangagwa was horrible. He was supposed to behave the way two leaders in East Africa are behaving. They have become pawns being used by the West, being used by the Arab nations that are looking for wealth, and they are not ashamed as long as they are getting their little cut. And it's going on in the region. You can see what is happening in DRC. The same thing. Kagame is a conduit. He makes a little commission, but he has the audacity to go on air to say, why are you talking about Rwanda? Talk about France. They're the ones who use your minerals. Talk about Belgium. They're the ones who take your minerals. The minerals merely pass here.
We are coming to the Congo issue. So, I just wanted to get an understanding of the whole Sudan.
The Sudan issue is basically economic.
So it's an economic war.
It's not economic war that you can describe as an economic war between China and the US. This is mercenaries in the name of leaders who are causing havoc in Sudan.
For personal interest.
For personal interest. There is an economic war between China and America. That is for the sake of the country and their companies and the businesses. But these are just criminals who are looking for money, who then turn it to look like, I'm protecting my people. What Hemeti says, typically looking for a reason to cause the havoc that you're causing in the region. And as long as Africa continues to have leaders that do not seek an African identity, do not have any policy, do not have any vision, we'll continue dancing the dance.
And we try to facilitate the peace process sometimes back as a country, but we suffered rejection. Now, with these developments, are we going to help even with this accommodating them here? Because the Cabinet Secretary, Musalia Mudavadi, gave a statement that we're trying to push for a peace process.
You see, why would you blame Burhan for rejecting the so-called Kenyan peace process? It was not a peace process. You don't take me to your ally, whoever you are stealing with, and tell me whoever I'm stealing with will bring peace. It doesn't happen. Burhan will need a total idiot to come for peace where William Ruto is chairing, when obviously William Ruto is in bed with Hemeti for the sake of money.
Sad. Moving on, again, it's sad that our continent, again, there's also war in Congo, courtesy of the M23, who are again said to be funded by Rwanda, which, of course, Rwanda rejects. But as from where you sit, what's the real cause of this Congo war? And who, of course, everyone understands it's the minerals. They'll say it's other things, but we understand it's the minerals, bottom line. But who are the key people that are causing all these troubles?
Generally, in East Africa, we've got to be very careful with the leadership in Kenya and the leadership in Rwanda. If you look at what made the pioneers of our African continent fight for independence was rejection of domination, or being dominated by foreigners who came in to colonize us and took over our land, took over our resources, and we became their subjects. And the then pioneers of our freedom fought hard so that we can get rid of that yoke, where a human being comes to dominate another human being. That domination has changed. It's now in form of picking on leaders, visionless, without African identity, without considering that it doesn't matter what I do, I'm an African and my skin will never change, it remain black forever. And you become an agent of those that are looking for resources, because that is all they have looked for. They used guns to colonize us, and now they are using puppets to loot the same resources. And give me a reason why Kenya would say, or will go to the US to be told, you are a NATO ally. I mean, for what? To fight who? For whose interest? And that is the mentality of certain leadership. I think they suffer from some inferiority complex. You think if I please Americans, or if I please the Belgians or the French, I look more sophisticated. It's just like a child who cannot pronounce English the way he was taught in school. When he goes to America for a few months, you find there is a crazy twang. So that is exactly the mentality of certain leaders in Africa. And we are suffering from leadership that is so hollow, it doesn't even when standing on the ground, they don't even believe they are standing on that ground. There is nothing inside. It's hollowness. Because what is governing you? What is governing you is to get a little commission and get a little pat on the back from your masters. And hence, you try to colonize your people. Some of them colonize better because we are told Rwanda is moving better. At least the commission they get for facilitating looting of the West, they might be applying it for the good of the Rwandese people. But in some countries, it's about me, myself, and me alone. So, either way, whether your country benefits from it or as an individual you benefit, you are a soulless human being in form of a leader. What do you stand for? Why do you hate your skin? The rest of the world are putting their blocks together. Why did we come up with Africa Union? Because there was a vision by Kwame Nkrumah and the others that one day Africa will be one federation. Today we are busy balkanizing Africa. Polisario, look at South Sudan, look at Darfur, look at now all these issues. We are actually retrogressive. We are going back instead of moving forward based on the vision of those that fought for independence.
So who are these people exactly that are have made the reason or the sole purpose that Congo won't know peace, and why?
First of all, after the removal of Patrice Lumumba, it's because Patrice Lumumba clearly had a vision for the DRC. Then they put in Mobutu, whose vision was to go and enjoy nice wine in France and Belgium, because Belgium colonized them. When Laurent Kabila fought and removed Mobutu, those interests would not allow Laurent even to settle. They assassinated him. Now, Joseph Kabila ran the country because he danced to their tune. Now he's gone out. Tshisekedi thought I'll be uncompromising and put my country on proper footing. Little did he understand that even when he says he has generals, all those generals serve certain masters.
Was he interested in freeing that country?
He tried. Just to realize, DRC is 26 provinces. You have military commanders for all those provinces. but you have military commanders that have totally been compromised, number one. Number two, there's very poor training. Number three, no equipment. When you have military commanders who are business people, when you have military commanders who are the richest in a country because of looting the resources of a country, then you realize you have no country, because to be compromised by foreign interests is so easy. And that's why they were trying to declare the former chairman of Electoral Commission as a president for this region, because they're just looking for a share. If we can put our puppet there and we get what we want to get, so be it. Tshisekedi has not realized that his forces are seriously compromised and that he needs to do something totally different from what he's doing. You cannot have a country of over 100 million being harassed by a country that is less than any one of your provinces. Doesn't make sense at all.
So, does Kagame want Congo to enjoy peace?
Kagame is not interested in peace. What peace? For who? Kagame is interested in looking like a serious leader, appreciated by the West, the blue-eyed boy of the West. And why do you become my blue-eyed boy? What do I benefit from you? He clearly was on TV and he said, the minerals just pass here. Why aren't you talking about Israel? Why aren't you talking about France? Why aren't you talking about Belgium? So literally saying, I work for commission. I have been employed to work for commission. That's literally the communication.
Will the Angola peace process succeed if this the way the leaders of these two countries are working mentally?
The way I'm looking at it, even East Africa community is becoming toothless, jointly with SADC. They met and came up with a communique. That communique has been rubbished already. You are how many countries? About 8 plus 15 countries. You come up with a serious issue. You say we are ordering our Chief of General Staffs to meet in 5 days to give us a solution. Have we been told what they decided? Did they even meet?
I'm not sure if they have met. Yeah, I mean, there's so many developments on this.
Obviously, everybody is getting a phone call from the masters and everybody is keeping quiet. And it was so obvious that there's an issue here. I don't call Museveni. I don't call Mama Suluhu. I don't call my brother in Sudan, Salva Kiir. I don't call the other regional leaders, and I'm the chair. I call
France.
That just opened up the whole Pandora box. So we have no leadership in this region. What we have in this, Museveni with the age, he's being very careful. He might even be a player in what's happening in DRC, but he does it with a bit of decency. And when he wants to go to DRC to follow the people he thinks are harassing him from DRC, he involves the government of DRC. He tells them, let's form a joint military. Let's clear these thugs that are harassing us. Now, if Kagame wanted to follow people, genuinely he's looking for peace, and that the people that caused genocide are hiding in DRC, can they form a joint operation with the Republic of DRC if you have any respect for your neighbor? You don't cause incursions without participation of another sovereign country. When you come up and say the people there who are Tutsi origin are being mistreated, then you are saying Tanzania should come up and tell Kenya, when Raila wins and they take away his election, that Kenyans, those other communities in Kenya are mistreating Raila. So the Luos in Uganda, because we have Luos in Uganda, we have Luos in Tanzania, they should come and fight in Kenya. Is that what you're saying?
But I'm looking at it from a point of, since we know the West is involved in this, that's rather obvious. Why is it that at this point we have seen now EU calling out Rwanda? Like, what's the political game behind that?
EU is bigger than the few countries Kagame mentioned. And countries compete. It's only in Africa where leaders compete to loot their countries. But in the developed world, countries compete technologically, make sure that I'm more advanced, my people are living better, per capita income is higher per person, all those issues. It's only in Africa where they are competing. Is it Mobutu Sese Seko who has more money? Or is it Hemeti? Or is it William Ruto? Or is it who? You can't see the pettiness of growth of mind. Meaning some of us have baked. Our minds are not properly really formed. Because if that is what I should compete for, why would I call myself a leader? Honestly, do I have the spine to call myself a leader?
So will Europe be looked at as a facilitator for peace? And why would then countries that are far off Africa be the ones sorting the mess that is in Africa?
The African mess can only be sorted out by Africans themselves. Nobody from out there will give us a solution. Hence, the need for the African population to examine whoever they give mandate to run their country.
As of now? Because those
As
are
of
the
now,
leaders who are in
they
power.
fall prey to either those that use force, using guns, and to those that are expert liars. And we must come up with a formula that dismisses or institutions that makes those that fraudulently lie to everybody and find themselves in big offices through fraud, through misinformation, through all those stories they use to get into power, do not survive.
I'm looking
If
at
we
it.
can't get to a point whereby we cannot stop that, and that any street boy who doesn't even understand the value of money, some of them have gone to school, but they do not understand the value of money, come into power and think the most I can do is loot taxes, provide for those that can give me money to commit any atrocities against each other. You know, dealing with a savage human being as a leader. That is what Africa is going through.
Every time I look at this whole Congo-Rwanda issue, Kenya has been accused of siding with Rwanda oftentimes for maybe purposes of business. But then again, if I look at it from a point of doing business, Congo has a bigger population. If we were to do business as Kenya, probably we would have more value working with Congo. That's a possibility. I'm not dismissing Rwanda by any chance. But having our president as the chair of EAC, who now the Congolese look at as having taken sides, will then EAC manage to facilitate that?
Every person in any grouping matters. Rwanda matters, Burundi matters, despite their small sizes. DRC, obviously, anybody doing business with DRC, you have a bigger person you're dealing with more natural resources, and you'll benefit more. DRC has never said Kenyan companies should not go and mine in DRC. Just follow the law. Go and mine. They are Chinese, all the way from China, mining in DRC. DRC has not stopped Rwanda from going into DRC through the government, get licenses, and mine, and pay taxes. Neither have they stopped Kenya. So it is not about countries and their policies and benefiting companies from the region. It's about individuals who are so self-centered, who are about themselves, that they don't look at the bigger picture. Even if I have money to enjoy, honestly, I want to enjoy in a place that is well developed and everybody has money. that I can walk on the streets carrying money in my hands and I'm not worried. That's the kind of country I'll want to live in with my wealth when I have it.
Why do you think Congo looks at Kenya as a conduit for Rwanda?
Obviously, if you look at the diplomatic relationship between Kenya and Congo, initially there was the Nairobi process. And one of the things that was happening was training of security to protect the DRC, because I think our military was training DRC military. That program collapsed. It was even sabotaged. Who talked about it? Why was it sabotaged? Who sabotaged it? The beneficiaries. It is like dealing with drug lords. Drug lords remove governments. So we have mineral lords also, who destabilize the region. Remember the power of money. When applied, it can cause a lot of havoc. And that is what is going on in the region. It is all about the power of money. And unfortunately, that power of money is not ending up in the region. It's ending up in Europe and other places. Basically because of the same problem I've told you. Africa suffers from leadership. People get into offices without a slight idea of what they want to do for their country. They go into offices because it's a means to put money in their pocket.
And what risks are this whole thing putting Africa into, looking at it from, say, 10 years, 20 years from now?
The last year, I think it's last year, yes. I think there was a 10-point speech made by Xi Jinping when the African leaders went to China. And it was not that China is going to change you, but China was saying, let us be partners. This is what I'm offering. I'll train you to do this. We'll train young people in leadership. We will do 1, 2, 3 because we want you to be our partners. That if we put our population and your population together, we make a third of the world population. And here you are, you own 60% of the world's natural resources. So look at our 1.5 billion people plus your 1.5 billion people. You have the resources, we have the technology. Let us work together to generate wealth for your people to benefit and for me as China to continue growing. Let Europe come with a similar strategy. Let America come with a similar strategy. Let anybody else who wants to work with Africa come. Let us work together for the benefit of your people and the benefit of our nation. Let the Russians come. Let them say we have technology. We want to invest. We are investing because we want to make money. Making money genuinely and not looting you. Meaning they'll make their profit and the African nations will also benefit. But the whole world will be willing to do that. But who are you doing with when the leadership is rotten? When the leadership, even when you give them a loan, they're asking for a commission from the loan you have given them. That railway lines cannot be completed because the demands on what should go into their pockets just make the other countries who are giving you the money get shocked. When you say, give us loans, we'll increase taxes, to a point where somebody looks at the pay slip and says, I would rather retire because my pension will be higher than what I'm earning. So lack of understanding management of power, lack of understanding that government is not an enterprise. It is not an enterprise. Government has social responsibilities.
And that they must accomplish for sure.
And that must be taken into account.
There are critics who are saying that the whole Congo war is being pushed by the West because they've realized Russians are coming in Africa and getting their footing. And so one of the ways to ensure Russia doesn't get thrown into Congo is to ensure there is war so that they can keep the place not peaceful. And of course, with that, there will be a demand for UN peacekeeping forces, probably. Is that a thought that you look at, and does that argument stand?
If we had a problem in Kenya and you told me you are bringing UN forces to stabilize the country, I'll not allow it. Because that's a conduit. We have seen aircrafts crashing, UN aircrafts crashing in DRC, full of gold, full of diamonds. Do they really come to keep peace? There are many people who were born when there was peacekeeping forces in DRC. They have been there to death. So who controls the UN? Who do they send there? Their own puppets. For what reason? To loot what they can loot there. This was done to Iraq, and you know it.
So is it true that they want to ensure that Russia doesn't get its footing there?
It is about Russia will come and disrupt our economic interest. And remember, even to wield military power, we need the money. So if Russia comes there and we are not getting the money that we have been getting, it's a problem. Remember one time when China proposed they're going to open up DRC and they don't want payment. Whatever minerals they find on the way, they take. America went up in arms. Because if you have the wealth beyond what we have, we become subservient to you. But as long as we have the military might, we can as well fake intellectual might. That has been the game of the West. Military might, not that there is intellectual might, not that Africans cannot think better than them. We have many brilliant people in this continent. Not that Chinese cannot think better than them. But we have allowed this game. It's a very heavy game. And you can see leadership that comes in with some moral standing. I've given you an example of Laurent Kabila. I gave you an example of Patrice Lumumba. They get rid of you. And they make sure that whoever takes over. Joseph Kabila is not the son of Laurent Kabila. Both Joseph and Janet, the twin sister, the mother came with them. So it's not biologically the children of Laurent Kabila. The children of Laurent Kabila, if you go to DRC, they are suffering. They are busy with small engines trying to do some little mining just to survive. When their stepbrother and their stepsister owns all the wealth on earth. And since they didn't care, they could play all those kind of games. Maybe you can take $60 million every month, but leave me to enjoy my life, and they get theirs. They really didn't care about the population.
So what are the possibilities? Of course, eventually maybe the war will end, but what are the possibilities?
Africa is going to change. You like it, you don't like it, it is going to change. Look at the Gen Z war in this republic. And it's not just in this republic. Look at West Africa. The young soldiers who have said go to hell, and they have taken charge of their countries. Africa must change. The mentality of leadership in Kenya, the mentality of leadership in many East African countries has no place in Africa of today. I tell you that for free. And it's just a matter of time, because the young generation is fed up. A young person in Kenya has no issue with a young person in DRC. They want to live their lives. They want to enjoy their lives. They do not understand tribe. They do not understand anything else other than fair play. And if you are a leader of a country and you're not playing it fair, there's no way you're going. There's no heritage you are living. You will not perpetuate yourself or your children into anything, because their age mates who are taking over tomorrow will look at them as those who benefited from what they never sweated for.
So what do you think will be the demands that Congo, Rwanda, Kenya will put at the table for this conflict to end?
This conflict will be patch-ups as long as we have the same players. Unless the players move and we have new thinking taking over, there's no actual settling of issues, because you have Kagame with this mentality, you have Hemeti with this mentality, you have William Ruto with this mentality. Until these crops go off, the crops that I believe might be the biggest problem in the region, unless it is swept off, we'll still have the same game.
So that conflict is not ending anytime soon?
That conflict, they'll pretend is ending. They'll meet SADC and East Africa community, and tomorrow, 20-something countries, your decision is rubbished. Because you have leaders that are agents of bigger powers.
So is there a possibility of a civil war eventually? I mean, we are not hoping for that, but is it a possibility?
Civil war is when a country, like what if war broke here between Kenyans and Kenyans, that's a civil war. That is based on injustice, that you are mistreating me, and it can happen easily. We've had clashes in Kenya that could lead to a civil war. But when you look at even those clashes we've had, what were they fighting about? Control of Kenyan resources. That I bought land and you want to take it back for free by chasing me away. And on the other hand, when you get into power, you spit on the other one. That who you are, mtu wa kufunga blanketi, unamtamia mate. But you have a generation which does not understand those rudimentary attitudes of the age or people of the ages that have been into leadership. A Kikuyu, young Kikuyu, does not have the mentality of an older Kikuyu against the Kalenjin. And neither does the Kalenjin young person have the mentality of the older generation against the Kikuyu.
That's true.
And that's what I'm saying. When this generation is gotten rid of, although they need somebody to guide them across the board, and it should happen across Africa,
That's
then
what I'm asking.
Africa shall have its identity.
Is Congo going to experience a civil war?
It is architectured to look like a civil war, because Banyamulenge are Rwandese that live in Congo. The ones Kagame says is following, I think they are Hutus, who the regime removed, who he says disappeared into Congo. Those things will not exist with the younger generation. The younger generation lives here, goes to Rwanda to enjoy because something is happening. The young generation in Rwanda comes to Kenya to enjoy, and I think one of the most popular gospel musicians is Israel, who is Rwandese.
Yes, yes.
And is damn popular in this country. We don't have that stupidity. They don't have that stupidity the older generation has.
So one factor that we cannot ignore is that, of course, with the Trump presidency, he's shaking the world everywhere. Do you think in this whole Congo conflict he would be, I know he doesn't really care about Africa, but he cares about interests. So, of course, with minerals involved, he would care. Do you think he would come in and call out leaders? And if he did, from what
Americans
perspective?
will never sweat for their money. Americans look for very easy money to make. They'll go and loot petroleum in Iraq, and they say they were keeping weapons of ABCD. They'll not go to be bitten by Gaboon vipers in DRC that they are looking for gold or minerals. They won't. That's why they employ, and the West generally will not do that. Unlike Chinese, you'll find them in DRC. If there is a Western company that is in DRC, it is managed in a manner that the dangerous jobs are handled by the locals. Them, they sit in management, sit in beautiful cities. We have mines in DRC that if you visit them, it's a city on its own. That is the kind of mining the West will do. But really looking for resources for purposes of, they will not do it.
Of
they
course,
don't
they
want
will
to go
do
through
that.
pain.
But which side would he lean on? The Congolese or the Rwandese?
What money will Trump make from Africa? It's not there. Trump will go into a deal with Putin because Putin has resources. What do you people have in Africa?
The resources in Congo.
You have resources that must be worked to be turned into money. Putin is mining all the oil. He has all the money, all the gas. And remember, Russia's literally, that's why they never went to colonize another country. They have their own resources. So for Putin, it's so easy. What do you want? It is ready-made. If it's tea, it will be brought on the table. Enjoy it. This other man wants to tell you he'll give you some wheat. America is not interested in wheat.
But you know, there's
Trump is not interested in wheat.
Why was he then beginning the conflict with Cyril Ramaphosa in South Africa?
Because they came again where they wanted to falsely accuse Ramaphosa of doing what Mugabe did. And we have whites in South Africa who do not believe up to now that a black man is ruling them. But whatever they were claiming Cyril Ramaphosa is doing is totally false. The white people are enjoying their freedom in South Africa. But some of them will form stories to sell a certain image about black leadership in South Africa.
But the argument has been the fight is for the minerals that they get, that they want bigger chunks of land so they can have easy access to these minerals.
If I resisted that as a leader, and I said, okay, fine, what you have is yours, keep it, enjoy it. If there's another area that had not been exploited, and I'm saying this population is larger, they must be given an opportunity to exploit this area. And you're saying, no. Even Northeastern, we are now moving from Nanyuki, as the white people who own the ranches in Nanyuki, we want to take over Northeastern because we have created peace. That will not make sense. You'll allow the Northeastern people and the others who have been disadvantaged to benefit from it.
Okay, interesting argument. As we come to a conclusion, what do you feel about Kenya's foreign policy as it is at the moment, considering what happened in Ethiopia, this whole idea of Congo, this whole idea of Sudan? What do you consider that to be, and what do you think is the future for that?
I think your question should be slightly different. Kenya is behaving like a little baby with a razor blade in their hands. They're cutting themselves on a daily basis. So, when you have a baby with a razor blade, does that baby understand what to do with that razor blade? How dangerous that razor blade is? And that is typically the leadership we have in Kenya. They are playing with a razor blade. And they do not understand, the worst part of it, is that they don't understand it's a razor blade. And that the consequences of the decisions they are making today are so far-reaching, and even just the behavior of the country today, the implications are so far-reaching. And you've seen it, like saying, we'll give all the Somalis IDs. Are you normal? Al-Shabaab will give them IDs. A Kenyan, you will hear, a Kenyan has blown up that country, or a Kenyan went to America now that we fly directly to America and did ABCD. What will be the value of the Kenyan passport? And worse still, what will be the value of a Kenyan Muslim's passport? Because then they look at the Abdurrahman so and so. You are Al-Shabaab. Sarah, Maina, maybe not. So you are creating insecurity and devaluing a country with repercussions that only a person who doesn't understand what he's doing can do.
How do we correct these diplomatic blunders that we've made? Because they've been several. Sudan is, of course, the trending.
Everybody knows that Kenyans behave differently. But in every market, there's a madman. So the region is waiting for Kenyans to give them a leader that understands what is correct. And it will happen soon. This can't go on forever. Problems at home, problems regionally, problems internationally. It cannot go on. It doesn't matter the chest you have.
What solutions would you propose?
We have a constitution. That constitution gives Kenyans power. Even today, if you decide you want to get rid of the president of Kenya and the leadership and the government of Kenya, you will do it. Power belongs to the people. They only exercise it through elected leaders. But there's nothing that stops Kenyans from exercising power directly.
Wow. That's a good place to end it, Cyrus.
Thank you.
And it's always a pleasure having you around. Don't get so lost. People always want to hear from you because you're one person who's well versed with happenings both locally and on the regional space and, of course, geopolitically.
Thank you. I'm available anytime.
You're good.
Yes.
All right. It was good having you. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Thank you for watching the program to the end. And hopefully you learned a thing or two. And hopefully we can correct the issues that as Kenyans we have caused in the region. I mean, it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. It's just up to us to consider how far we can go, I think. So we'll catch you on the next episode.